Hey, it's Zach. Grab a bunch of snacks because today we're going to walk through the entire plugin. Let's go. The first tool that we're going to talk about is going to be plugin management. Now, what makes this plugin so special to go first is it's going to be how you control access to all the plugins in your system. So after the first time that you install, you'll see this little shark icon in the upper right hand corner of Encompass. And if we go ahead and click that, you'll then see plugin management, and that's going to be the only thing that you see. So let's go ahead and give that a click. Now, once we give that a click, on the left-hand side, you'll notice that this is where we have all of our plugins. The first thing that you'll notice are these checkboxes. That's going to be how you turn on and off the plugin. And that is not the access per se, but the overall active of the plugin. To control the access of the plugin, we go over here to the Permissions tab, and there's 4 options for controlling permissions. You can set permission by persona, you can set permission by org, you can set permission by user, and last, you can set permission by user group. If you feel like there's something that we're missing, some other permission that you could potentially take advantage of, feel free to post that in our idea portal, which I'll show you here in a minute, and we can suit any of your needs. Next to the Permissions tab, you'll notice the Information tab. If we give that a click, this is going to load in all of the information and use case for all of the plugins. So as we cycle through the plugins, you'll have these buttons up top that will help you navigate up and down through the documentation for each of these tools. At the very top, the first button that we're going to talk about up here is going to be Support. If we click that, that is going to take us to the SharkeyByte support portal. The only thing that you need access is to our website. So as long as you register at www.sharkeybyte.com, then you'll have access to see the support portal, the idea portal, as well as documentation. In the support portal, if we go ahead and click the plus button for a new issue, we let you create a title, type out all your details, as well as attach images. After you submit an issue, we will get right back to you. Every issue has a status, so once we resolve something, we will change the status, and anything that happens to your ticket, you will automatically be emailed. The next button at the top is the tool request button, or otherwise known as our idea portal. So let's go ahead and give that a click. So this is going to take us over to where you would come in to request either a new feature to an existing plugin, or you would request an entirely new idea that you have. So if we go to the selected section, these are going to be all of the plugins that have been submitted, and we have said we will put them in. The implemented tab will show you all of the implemented ideas that people have posted. You can click on any of these to go through the history, and you can also check out the implementation time as well as the average to get a good idea of when you submit either an issue or an idea, how long it will take your idea or issue to get resolved or come to fruition. The next button up at the top here at Plugin Management is going to be our Release Notes button. So if you click that, you'll see all the dates that we've done releases, and if we click on any of these, you'll get all of the relevant data for the release. Most releases that include new tools or new features, you'll have a YouTube video associated with them that will cover the entire release, and we follow up with that with screenshots as well as some descriptions to let you know exactly what happened this release. The next button is very important. This getting started button, just like it sounds, is going to be where you're going to want to go if you need to know information about how to use our tool for the first time, or if you need a refresher. This is going to be the place to do it. The first button is going to be our installation button. That will walk you through how to register on our website, how to download the plugin, install it in your system. That takes less than 60 seconds. It's very, very quick. All of our processes are always completely hands-off, meaning that you don't need to get a hold of us to download, to register, to subscribe. You can do it anytime you want. Initial info. This is going to be information that we think will be useful for you. Plugin management. This is going to kind of cover some of the stuff that we're talking about, what these buttons are again, just in case you need a little refresher, a little description of what things are doing. Setting plugin access. That's going to be the next button we talk about up here. So let's go ahead and check that out. We give you a few global settings to control certain things within our framework. This SMTP settings button will let you set the global SMTP settings to use within different tools that are emailing. The auto update plugin toggle here is very important. If you turn this off, our plugin will not auto update. Obviously with it checked, when a super administrator logs in, our plugin will auto update itself in the background. Login height and width, those are going to be when Encompass first opens, gives you the control of how big Encompass is. Sometimes Encompass has a bad habit of either getting smaller or opening at weird sizes. This just gives you a little bit of control over that. The next section here is the update section, which is going to be important to talk about since we're at the top. If I hit the Get Update button, you can see that we've checked for updates and we are up to date. If you are doing the manual updates, this is where you would go to manually update your system. And if you have manual updates checked, then at login for super administrators, we will just give you a notification letting you know, hey, there is a new version available. For configuration of plugins, you're going to see this little gear icon anytime you select a plugin. If you see that it's grayed out and disabled, that means that there's no configuration. Otherwise, you can click it to open the configuration for that plugin. The last button up here is going to be the Basecamp button. This will take you to the Basecamp forum where there's over 700 people that use Encompass, administrators, developers, underwriters. Everybody helps each other. It's completely free. You can post your issues, problems that you're having, and the community is awesome at coming to the aid of people that need answers. This is going to cover the plugin management. Let's move on to the next plugin. Now that we've covered the management section of our tool, we're going to walk through the different categories of all of our tools, starting out with productivity. The different categories that we're going to cover are going to be productivity, admin utilities, compliance, data insight, and quality of life. The first productivity tool that I want to talk to you about is going to be our advanced emailing tool. What this tool is going to allow you to do is going to be to send out HTML-based emails with document attachments using business rules or custom input form code. If we go into plugin management and we click on the little gear for configuration for advanced email, you can come in here and start building rules. First thing you can do is select whether this rule is active or not. Then you're going to want to give it a unique name. Next, select the type of email that you're going to want to send, whether it's going to be Outlook based or SMTP based. The next thing will be how you want it to trigger, whether you want that to trigger immediately or whether you want it to wait for save. Skip over here to code preview. This is going to be where you can come in here and you can select, copy, and paste that into your business rule to run this rule, as long as you have it marked active. The click column is going to be where you go to actually configure the email. We'll get back there here in a second. The test column, if you click test email, that will actually run the email and email it out. And last but not least, show inside menu. This is going to allow for this rule to show up in our email tool in the side menu. We'll cover that a little bit later in this video, so stay tuned. Back to our email configuration. The first section up top left here you're going to see is going to be for configuring who your email gets sent to. Now, if you are using SMTP settings, the from section is totally in your control. There's 3 ways to set that up. So you can either set the from email and alias in the global SMTP settings that we showed you earlier. You can check this toggle if you want it to send as the user, whoever is logged in when this rule fires. Or you can manually set who you want the from and the alias to be. Next is going to be the 2CC and BCC fields. These are all going to work the exact same way. They are tokenized, meaning that to add things or to remove things, you either just click on this X or you click on the add button. You can either find an email or come over here to the manual section and type a manual email and hit select. If you are in a loan and you open up the configuration, another column will show here showing you the value of that field. Throughout the entire configuration of your email, you can use the brackets as well as specifying the field ID to merge loan data into anything that you want. So into the subject or into the body, you can inject loan data anywhere you want. The next section over here is going to be included documents. This will grab any attachment in these documents that you have checked that are marked as current. Last but not least, over here is going to be the actual body of the email. So this is going to be our what you see is what you get editor. Very familiar to you. It looks a little bit like Microsoft Word. If these options are not enough for you, you can always hit the view source button and you can modify the HTML yourself to do anything that you want. That's going to cover the advanced email tool. The next productivity tool that I want to talk to you about is going to be the AMI tool. This tool is going to allow you to pull in AMI information to your loans anytime you want. So you can do this with either business rules or with custom input form builder code. What AMI information is going to be pulled down is going to be the price, the percent, the high cost indicator, the classification, the special focus area, as well as any error that happens. The next tool I want to talk about is going to be Audit Trail Auto Pull. Now, if I pull over our idea portal, which is where this idea spawned from, you can see that what this tool does. So if we go into a disclosure record that has an audit trail PDF, what this tool does is it allows you to set up rules to automatically pull this document into a document bucket if it's available. You can set these rules to be active or not. You can specify a condition the same way that you would in a condition for business rules. And you can also select the personas that each of these rules are applicable for. The next tool that I want to talk about is going to be our auto assign tool. What this tool is going to allow you to do is automatically assign either a user or a group to a role based on a milestone. If we go in here to the rules, you can see that just like a lot of our other rules in here, we try to keep a similar layout. The first column is going to be active, so you can check whether this rule is active or not. The second column is going to be the milestone, so you come in here and select the milestone. Selecting the milestone will pull up the role as well as the groups and the users associated with that role. You can specify a condition, just again like you would in any business rule condition, exactly the same way. And then there's two options for when this fires. You can select either or both. The first option is going to be after a loan opens. The second option is going to be after a milestone completes, and you want to fill out the role for the next milestone. The up and down arrows, you can use these to control the execution order. The execution order of these rules is going to be from the top to the bottom. The next tool that I want to talk about is Clear Empty Buckets. Just like the name implies, this will allow you to automatically clear all the empty eFolder buckets with the option to leave the most recent blank folder alone and not delete it. Starting in the top left, these two check boxes are going to allow you to copy and paste this code either to a business rule or to a custom input form to run Clear Empty Buckets. If you have automatically clear on loan commit checked, you can specify a condition, again, just like how you would in a business rule condition. And last but not least, over here, you can select the personas that have access to the clear button in the eFolder. This is a typo, we'll fix that. We go over here to the eFolder, drag her over here. You'll now see this remove duplicates button that you can click that will do the same thing. The next tool that I want to talk about is our disclosures tool. What this tool allows you to do is to automatically kick off the disclosure process from either a business rule or a custom input form, and it doesn't require any human intervention. So this will run through all of the steps of disclosure automatically, starting with applying the plan code based on the rule you have selected, as well as selecting the correct email template before it sends out an email at the end of the process. If we look at the configuration, you can see that you can set the trigger field, you can select your plan code, select your email template, and then you can also specify the condition code that you want to be true for this rule to run. This tool does pair nicely along with our add docs to closing package tool, which I will talk about coming up here. The next tool that I want to talk to you about is our doc transfer tool. This is a pipeline-based tool. So if we navigate over to our pipeline and we select some loans, we come up here and hit the doc transfer button. You can see all of our selected pipeline loans are going to be up here. What you're going to want to do is type in a loan number that you want to transfer documents from, and it's going to transfer them from this loan to all of these loans that you have selected. So let's go ahead and hit the Get Documents button. You can see our loan here has two documents. We'll go ahead and hit the transfer button. So as you can see down here in the status, it's working its way through the loans. And there you can see all files transferred successfully. That's it. Next up is our loan duplication tool with documents. So as you can see, I have a loan open here. In the eFolder, we have a couple documents with a couple attachments. Let's go ahead and give her a close. Make sure we save it. All right. Now that we're back to the pipeline, we're going to go ahead and click on that loan, and we're going to click on our Duplicate with Docs button. What that's going to do is it's going to do the exact same functionality as if you were to click the duplicate button or right click and do duplicate, but it's going to pull along all of the documents along with the duplication. Once this process is complete, you will see this pop up that says, do you want to open the new loan? If you X, it will not. If you click OK, it will take us now into the new loan. And if we hit the eFolder, we can see that we have our buckets and we have our attachments. Next up is going to be eConsent auto pull. So when eConsent is all filled out and you click this get form or view form button and there's a PDF in there, what our tool allows for you to do is to automatically pull this form in when it's available and put it in a bucket of your choice. So if we go up here to plugin management and we go to eConsent auto pull, you can see that we have here a bucket selection for you to say, where do you want that to go? Next up is going to be eFolder buttons, and what this tool allows you to do is to either call the retrieve button, the request button, or the eConsent button in the eFolder. For the retrieve button, you have two options. You can either retrieve all documents in the eFolder, or you can specify a comma-separated list to retrieve. The same is true for request. For eConsent, you just simply need to set that to X to send the eConsent request. The next tool is eFolder transfer. This is going to be almost exactly the same as the pipeline transfer tool, but this is specifically built for just being in a loan already. So if we type in that same loan that we copied from and we type in get document or click get documents, we can see there's our documents. And if we were to hit transfer, we can see that all files are transferred successfully. This is potentially helpful if you have a linked loan that you need to copy the documents from. This will allow you to do that. Next up is going to be email automation. Once you've turned this on, you will find this over in our plugin menu right here. Give that a click and we open up the settings. You'll see, again, very familiar configuration screen. In here, what we allow you to do is to set up rules for emailing out reports in your system. So this would be a daily report that you want to send out of your system and have it automatically email at some time. So the first column here is going to be which type of email you want to send out, Outlook or SMTP based. The second column will let you select the report that you want to generate to include as an attachment in your email. The next column is going to be all of the advanced email rules that you can set up in the advanced email tool. Come in here, select one of the rules or one of the email templates that you would like to use for this. And last but not least is going to be the time to send. So set this to any time of the day that you want this to automatically send out an email with an attached copy of this report. All you need to do to run this automation is to open it and hit start, and that will start generating all of your rules that you have set up. Up next is going to be enhanced condition map configuration. What this tool allows you to do is to map any of the enhanced condition properties to fields of your choosing. So you don't have to map all of the properties, just select ones of your choosing. So if we come in here to our configuration, click on the first column, you'll notice that this is going to be all of your different enhanced conditions. Second column is going to be all of the potential properties that you can map. And the third column is going to be where you type in the field ID that you would like to map that property to. It's that simple. Up next is the Escrow tool. What this tool allows you to do is to clear the escrow account setup from either a business rule or from custom input form code. All you need to do is come into the information tab, and you can see here that we show you if you set our custom field here to clear escrow, then that will clear the entire setup. And again, that's from either a business rule or from custom input form builder code. Any of the custom fields that we use will be automatically installed in your system, so you don't ever need to worry about installing custom fields or making sure that you have all of our custom fields installed. We programmatically install those for you. Up next is the export loan tool. What this allows you to do is to go into the pipeline, select as many loans as you want. We're just going to do one and hit the export loan button. If we save that to our downloads here and give it a second, what that's going to do is that's going to download the loan file, all of your attachments, any service documentation, configuration, or orders that you have placed. Anything associated with the loan file will get put into a zip. This is also going to include loan custom data objects. So here's the export, and if we go over here, we can see that it has our attachments XML. If we had attachments, they would be in here. We have our custom data object here for conversation log. We have our loan file, and then we have some other miscellaneous files. If, for instance, you had to run Optimal Blue, the response from Optimal Blue would be in the export. Next up is going to be export services. And if we go to the pipeline and we right click and we go down here to GSC services, what this tool allows you to do is to take these exports and actually do them inside of a loan. So if we go into our plugin management and we go down here to export services, you can see down here is how you trigger it. You set our custom trigger field down here to one of these values, and that will trigger the same exact type of export that you would get in the pipeline. Next tool we have is going to be the import liability tool. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you the option to actually import liabilities from either business rules or custom input form builder code. And it's not just going to click on the import liabilities button. It's actually going to go through the whole process of clicking the import button, hitting OK, letting the liabilities re-import. Up next is input form sets. What this tool allows you to do is it allows you to automatically set and apply the input form sets based on your business rule logic. So if we open up the configuration, you can see the first column here allows you to set whether this rule is active or not. The second column is for you to specify a unique name. The third column allows you to select the input form set. And the fourth column allows you to copy the code to paste into a business rule to run this and apply the input form set. You can pair this with the virtual fields tool. If you turn this on, then you can use the cx.sv loan open field, and you can run these anytime a loan is opened. Next is merge docs. Just like the name implies, this tool allows you to merge documents in the eFolder from one or many buckets to a single bucket based on a number of different conditions. So if we open up the configuration here, the first thing that you'll see is you're going to want to select the bucket to which all of the documents in your rule get merged into. The second column is going to be where you can set the from field. So if you have a bunch of documents that come in and mark the from property and you want to collectively merge those using whatever the name of that from is, you can do that. The next column allows you to check whether you want to delete the buckets after you merge them. Next up, you can select if you want to mark the latest document as current. And what that means is after you do a merge, you can only have the most recent attachment set as current. All the other ones will be unchecked. If you want this merge to happen before loan save, you can check the before loan save. The last column is going to be selecting which documents you want to merge. And if we go over here to the documentation, you can see that to do the actual merge, what you do is you set our trigger field to merge followed by a space as in the name of the rule that you set up. Next up is going to be our MIP Touches tool. What this tool is going to allow you to do is count the number of times somebody has came in, clicked Get MI, and then clicked OK. What that's going to do is that's going to increment one of our custom fields that we have in your system with, again, the amount of times that Get MI has been clicked over the course and history of a loan. The next tool we have for you is Open Modal Form. If you've ever used macro.popup, then you know while it is nice to have the feature to open up any form as a pop-up, the frustrating part of it is because it's a dialog, we can't get back to Encompass and work on both at the same time. Our new tool allows you to do that, fixes this problem. So if we were to open up, let's just say loan estimate part 1, you can see now we have this form open. We can go back and forth between the two, make changes, and all data will be synced. Up next is going to be our Open eFolder document tool. And what this tool allows for is for you to open up a document bucket while bypassing the eFolder completely. So if we set our custom field here to AVM, you will see that the bucket popped open. Straight away, we didn't have to first open up the eFolder. We just go straight to our bucket. You can use this in either business rules or custom input form code. Next up is going to be our plan code plugin. If we select a plan code and do this the traditional route, and we hit select, you can see here that we have the import plan data or skip options. Let's go ahead now and open up our configuration. So our configuration allows you to build different rules for different plan codes to apply them whenever you want, programmatically without your user having to go in there and do it. So the first column is going to be active. The second is going to be just like you saw on the second screen, whether you want it to overwrite the loan data or not. The third column is going to be where you select your actual plan. After you select a plan, it will automatically fill out the order type and plan code, as well as the investor. If one is selected for the plan code, you can also specify your own investor here if you want. Last but not least is the trigger column. You can copy and paste all of this text into your business rule, and this is the code to fire this rule. The next tool that we have for you is Print Form to eFolder. This is actually a two-part tool, and the first part of the tool allows you to screenshot or print your input forms to the eFolder. So if we come in here and we were to type in the name of a bucket, let's just type in the name of the input form. You'll see that it's taking a screenshot and it has placed it in the eFolder. So let's go in here and open her up. And here you can see we have our screenshot. It's very long because the form is very long, but we have our whole screenshot of the current state of the form. The second part of the tool is going to be printing a printable form like you would do with the print icon up here. So if we go into standard forms and we just pick one of these, let's say appraisal request, and we'll say test appraisal is our bucket, and appraisal request is the name of the printed document. That is going to print that and place it in the eFolder into the test appraisal bucket. And there you can see our appraisal request. This tool works for custom forms as well as standard Encompass forms. Up next is print URL to eFolder. So if we were to go to our miscellaneous trigger here and set it to print URL space and then the URL. That is going to take a screenshot for us. And here you can see we have a screenshot of ebay.com. Up next is going to be our loan reassignment tool. So if you've ever used the Encompass loan reassignment tool, you know that it's a little bit hard to search for loans. The way that they have this set up makes it a little bit convoluted to search and reassign. So we've made it a little easier by putting it in the pipeline for you. So you can come in here, select a bunch of loans, and hit the reassign button. Now, again, this works just like the reassign tool that you would be used to in settings. You would select the role that you're trying to assign, select a persona that you want to select someone from, and then you would hit reassign. However, if we look at the loan officer column for the loans that we have selected, you can see that there's nobody assigned yet. And if we were to hit reassign, what you're going to notice is nothing is going to happen. With the standard reassignment feature, it does just that, reassignment. So what we've added to help you out is we have added this new button down here, assign unassigned. So if you are trying to assign loans that have not been assigned yet, you can click this button. And now this is going to take a little bit longer than the reassign loans button does, because this actually has to put a lock on the loans. But if we just give it a second here, you'll notice that in the pipeline, all of our officer users are getting updated. And this is a great benefit and a good feature addition to the standard reassignment that you're used to. That's it. All loans have been reassigned, and that is our pipeline reassign tool. Next up is going to be our Remind eSign Packages tool. This one goes out for your loan officers. Anytime they log in, they should be clicking the eSign Packages button to check and see if there's anything they need to do here, but that requires them to remember to click it every single time. So what our tool does is, as long as you enable it for your loan officers or specific loan officers, when they log in, it will automatically check in the background to see whether they have any packages that they need to sign or look at. And if there are, it will automatically pop open this window for them. So never again will they ever forget to click on eSign Packages if there's something waiting for them. Next up is going to be our Role Field Map tool. As you guys all know, when people are getting assigned to milestones, sometimes you have multiple people that are assigned to quote-unquote the same role, but because they're in different milestones, there are different people, and it's hard or impossible, rather, to access the details or properties of those roles. So what this tool allows you to do is it allows you to control mapping specific roles that are tied to milestones. So if we go open the configuration here, we select a milestone, that will pull open the role for the milestone. Go to the third column here, that's going to show you all the different properties that you can map. And the last column is going to be where you specify what field ID you want to map that specific milestone's role property to. So you don't have to map all the properties. You can specifically choose what exactly you want to map. Again, this gives you access to role properties that you wouldn't typically have access to. Up next is going to be Show Column Field. If you've used Encompass for any amount of time, then I know that you're going to relate to the following struggle that I'm going to talk about. Whenever we go in here and we go to customize our columns, for whatever reason, Encompass decided to give us the field descriptions instead of the field IDs, making our lives very, very painful when we want to find exactly which field we're trying to add. This gets further complicated when the field that you're looking for has a description that is the same as another field. Some fields in Encompass will have the exact same description for 6, 10 fields, and you have no idea which field you're choosing, and you just have to choose them all and check. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. So if you enable our Show Column Field tool, when you open the Customize Columns the next time, we are going to add in another column and allow you to not only see the field IDs that are associated, but you can actually directly search by field ID. Gone are the days of needing to know the description to add customized columns. Hallelujah. Up next is going to be our side menu tool. When you are inside of a loan, a lot of times there are things such as loan information, links, or certain tools that you would like to have access to. And to do that, typically you put those things on a bunch of different custom input forms, giving people some kind of a menu on the right side so that they have quick link access to all those sort of things. Well, that's why we built the side menu. So as you navigate through your loan, this menu over here on the right is static, meaning it doesn't go anywhere. If you come over here to this divider, you can resize it, as well as click on this little middle button here, and that will close the drawer completely to hide it. At the moment, we have 5 tools built into the side menu. The first tool is the Conversation Log tool. What this tool allows for you to do is to quickly input conversation log entries that are tied to categories and subcategories that you create. This also gives you the ability to look up the log history based on your categories and subcategories. Next is the emailing tool. Utilizing the advanced email tool configuration combined with the column over here called Show and Side Menu, we will pull in all of the advanced email rules that you have marked into this side menu tool. So if we click on this template, it's going to automatically pull in the to and CC fields as well as the attachments. If you would like to make changes, you can come in here just like you would in the template, and you can either select stuff from the loan itself, or you can manually type in something. Same thing for CC. For attachments, you would go in here and we will pull up any documents that actually have attachments for you. From there, you have 2 options. You can either hit edit and send, or you can send it straight away. If you hit edit and send, this gives you the capability to see the body of the message and to modify it, add to it. If you'd like to replace all of your field entries with the values, you can check this and that will replace them, so you can actually see what the email looks like as it's going to be sent out. And once again, if you'd like to change the HTML itself, you can do that in here and hit update. After you're ready, you can again hit send. When you hit send, what's going to happen is, if we look over here, actually, let's go back up here. We have that set as SMTP, and we don't have the SMTP server set up in test environment. So let's go ahead and set this back to Outlook. Reselect our rule. We'll go ahead and hit send. That's going to send it using Outlook. And what you'll notice here is if we go ahead and complete this milestone, you'll see we have our automated email sent log notification that contains the body of the email as well as all the people that it got sent to. Next up is the field lookup tool. What this allows you to do is search through any of the fields in the loan as well as set them if you're a super administrator. This toggle at the top will allow you to look at the entire history of any audit fields that you have set up. This is nice because if you use the standard audit trail tool that Encompass gives you, you have to do this by one field ID at a time. So this gives you a good overall glance and ability to search through your entire audit trail history. If we switch back and we start searching, you can see that this will start pulling up and filtering all the stuff that matches. And again, if you're a super admin, you can come in here and you can make changes. The next field is going to be links and resources. If we open up the configuration for our side menu and we go to links, you can see that you can create all kinds of different links over here. So you can create internet links to take you to a specific site, an email link to open up a particular email, a print link, which will print either a standard or a custom print form. You can pop up a input form. You can go to a form. You can open up an eFolder document. You can run a service, and you can run pricing. All those you can set up as links. The same is true for the next tool that I'm going to talk about for loan information. This tool allows you to set up which fields in the loan are viewable at all times by which personas. So you add a field, and then you select which personas can view it. And when they come over here to the loan information tab, they will see all of the applicable fields that they have access to. That's going to cover our side menu tool. The next tool is USPS verification. So if we open up a loan and we go in here to the subject property, and let's go ahead and change this road to a capital D, that's going to invoke our pop-up that says, hey, would you like to update your address? And the reason it will pop this up is because there is a difference between the USPS verified address and the one you have typed in. In this case, it's just a lowercase d. But let's go ahead and click OK. After we click OK, what's going to happen is our field will be fixed, and on top of our field being fixed, or all of our fields being updated and with the correct address information and formatting, the USPS verification that happens at USPS.com will also be screenshotted and put into the eFolder. So if we open the eFolder and we open up our USPS verification, you can see we have our 7703 for zip code confirmed. Next tool I want to talk about is virtual fields. Virtual fields gives you a couple things that make writing business rules easier. The first thing that we give you is the loan opened custom field. So you can use this custom field to trigger your business rules to run when loans are opened. The next thing that we give you with the virtual fields tool is the ability to access current user information. So anytime a loan is opened, we copy in all of the current user's information, and you can use this in your business rules if you need to. All right, that last tool is going to tie it up for all of our productivity category. The next category that I'm going to talk about is going to be our admin utilities. And the first tool we'll start off with is the analysis tool. You will find the analysis tool right up here off of the plugin launcher. The analysis tool is a 3-part tool. The first part of the tool is a system search. The second part is a persona setup. So this allows you to see how your personas are set up over the entire Encompass system. And the third part, which is my favorite, is our trigger tester. When you first open, this is going to be our search functionality. On the left-hand side, it's going to be all the different categories of things you can search through. So you'll notice that you'll get a lot of your standard business rules, but on top of your business rules, you can also search through custom input forms, dashboards, input forms, pipeline views, print forms, and also even reports. This can be super helpful if you're trying to eliminate fields out of your system or see where things are at. Now, how do you get started here? So there's 2 ways to do this. 2 ways to search. You can either search by cache data or search by live data. Now, what we recommend is if you are going to be searching through, let's say, print forms, those are going to take a very, very long time to load in. So what we recommend for print forms is caching those. So you would select print forms, and then you would hit update cache, and that'll update all of your print forms. That way, the next time you come into the analysis tool, everything will be loaded and you don't have to sit there waiting for your print forms. Most everything else besides print forms should load pretty quickly. So if let's just select input forms, custom input forms, and print forms for now. If we were then to come over here and we were to turn on live data, this is going to load in fresh all of the live rule data. So let's give this a second here to load. Now that that's loaded, we can come in here and we can look at all of our different rules, or we can come up here to our search box and we can begin searching and finding all of the different areas in our rules that contain these things. So let's go ahead and pop open a trigger here. Okay, so we got 1172. So let's see everywhere where we have 1172 in our system. All right, so we found it. Let's say we get to this trigger and we want to see, or maybe we want to make a modification. With our tool, you can come up here and you can hit open rule. That'll open the trigger, allowing you to add or edit. And if you're searching for something and maybe you want to send those results to somebody, on all of our forms, you'll see this button. You can come up here and you can select either Excel, CSV, PDF, or Word. And let's go ahead and do a test here. And if I were to open that up, drag her over, this is going to be your PDF then that you can send and present to somebody with all of the data that you just searched. So that's going to do it for the first part of the tool. The second part of the tool is the persona access. Again, what this does is it gives you a good overview of all of the different settings. The settings actually start from home modules and go all the way down. The first 2 options here are going to be business rules. First option is going to be your loan access rules, and second is your loan or field access rules. This will show you across your whole system how all of your personas are set up. And again, if you wanted to come up here and you wanted to print this, you could also do that. And the third part of this tool, which is again my favorite, first things first, before you hit test triggers, it's only going to pull in things that are in your grid here. So whether you're loading in cache data or live data, it's only going to pull in the data that you have loaded into the grid. Now we have this tool open. What does it do? Well, as you know, if you have any kind of a business rule that has a mistake, let's say you're using it has a character that got copied over from Microsoft Word that's illegal, or maybe your condition doesn't take into account empty fields for either dates or numbers. You have to open a loan and that rule has to fire, and you have to either be using a logging tool or open the Encompass log to notice that your rule failed to execute because there was an execution error. What our tool allows you to do is it allows you to actually run and execute all of the code in your system with just one button click. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll talk to you more about what's happening while it goes. So while that's running, we automatically are grouping all of the different types of code in your system. And this is going to be conditions, advanced code from triggers, custom fields, as well as even input form code. So it's going to execute and test all of those different situations. For custom fields, it will actually spit out the result for you. For triggers, those will run, and while those are running, if you would like to see which fields are being updated and modified, you can do that. You can open up the field changes window, and as triggers are getting executed, you will see what is happening and what fields are getting modified. You may be asking yourself, what loan is this running against? This is actually running against a blank loan. If you have a loan that you would like to test all the rules against, you can open that loan and you can come in here, hit the copy loan current values, and that will copy in any of the values from the current loan that you're in. And all of the fields here on the right hand side are going to be all the fields that are associated with the rules over here in the grid. The first test that we set up for you by default is this set blank values. And what that's going to do is that's going to run through all your rules, and that's going to allow you to see what happens if the entire loan was to be blank, or the fields that are referenced in your rules or in your code is blank. Do those rules compile, or do you get these conversion errors that you should fix? The second option that we give you is set default values, and what that'll do is that'll go through and attempt to set values for all of the fields based on their field type. If the field is, for instance, a list, it will select a random option from that list and to apply it. And this test is the opposite of the first test. This is testing, okay, if we do have values, let's make sure and see what happens. You can come in here again and you can modify all these fields to your heart's content. After these have run, or if you want to test just a singular piece of code, you can come in here, open it up, and hit test. That will rerun that single rule. You can come in and if you have a rule that you would like to make a change on, for instance, this has an invalid character. If we change that to a regular dash and we retest that, that's going to tell us that now that ran successfully. And one more cool feature is you can actually hit the save button. And now if we open up this trigger, this code is actually gotten saved. So we don't have to navigate all the way back to our trigger to go and fix our rules. We can actually do it right from here. Lastly, we have this duration column, and what that's going to show you is it's going to show you how long each of your code examples here take to execute. And as they run, each rule is going to be compared with whatever rule has taken the longest time to run. So if we scroll down here, we can see this one right here took 1,600 milliseconds or 1.6 seconds. And so compared to this, you can see everything else is doing pretty good. And that's going to do it for our code testing tool. Next up is our fields tool. So if you click on our shark icon, fields, this gives you quick access to standard, virtual, custom, and reporting fields. Gives you easy search and sort capabilities, and for custom fields gives you a couple of extra things. So for custom fields, if we click on any of these and click open, you can then modify them right from here, so you don't have to go through settings. If you want to add a new custom field, you can click the new button. And then if you want to delete a number of custom fields, you can select them, hit delete selected, and then you can also check calculations for fields that have calculations. As with any of our grids and any of our forms, you can export this as PDF, CSV, Excel, or Word. Next up is Input Form Builder. Who doesn't get tired of logging into Input Form Builder so much? Well, we did too. That's why we decided to put Input Form Builder in a tab inside of Encompass. So no more logging in. On top of that, all of the controls over here are now organized alphabetically, making it a little bit easier for you to do all of your creations. Third, last but not least, is going to be giving you the ability to lock people out of input forms when you're making changes. So we've all been there. We all have some kind of a strategy, some way of managing who's working on what form so we don't override each other's changes. This gives you a very, very simple, easy way to lock down forms for your edit only. So all you have to do is come in here, you click on a form, click on the lock button. Now that form is locked to you. If I click on a form that is not locked by me, you can see that I can't click it, I can't double click it, and if that form was over here and recently opened, now it is not anymore. Up next is the log viewer. If you go up here to our Shark menu and you hit on the log debugger, you will get this screen. Clicking on the scan will turn on the debug log just like you would up here in the help menu. The scroll toggle here, what that does is as these messages come in, this will automatically scroll to the bottom, giving you the newest messages. So if we keep this, let me move this off the screen a little bit, and let's go ahead and open alone. You can see we've loaded a bunch more entries, and if we wanted to, just like with any of our grids and any of our forms, you can drag any of the columns up here to the header to group, and you could come in here and say, let me see all of the events that were under the main screen category, for instance. You can search, you can group, double group by, you can do anything you want. When you're done, turn off the scan, and that will turn off the debug log. Up next is another tool that it's going to be hard for you to live without now that you see it. It's going to be our push to production plugin. And what this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to use the native import and export functionality for business rules so that you can drag and drop your rules from your test environment to your production environment. Now, what makes this extra special is let's go in here and let's change this comment out to today's date. Hit save. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drag this over into production. Just like you normally would with the import export, you're going to get the business rule validation. Let's hit validate dependencies, import rule. Now the drag and drop is pretty cool, but what's even cooler is if that rule already exists in your production environment, it's going to automatically archive your old rule. So here's our old rule. It automatically left a comment saying who it was archived by. And then if we go into our new one, you can see here, it's got our new date. That's our new one that was just transferred over from test in 2 seconds. Your team will appreciate you for having this in your system. Up next is our setting extract, which you'll find up here in our plugin menu. These are going to be all the categories for settings that you can select to extract. Now, extracting all these will take a little bit of time in your system, so I'm going to go ahead in here and just select business rules for demonstration purposes. Okay, looks like we're done. If I open up the folder here, you can see we have our Excel file. If we open that up, you can see down at the bottom that all of the sections inside of business rules are going to be down here in individual tabs. So you'll find all your rules listed in here, and they'll each have their own worksheets. And this will be the same thing for each of the other setting groups. The only thing that's different is going to be custom data objects, plugins, and custom input forms. Those will just spit out as is, as well as custom print forms. Those will also come over as Word documents. Up next is going to be our user metrics tool. What this tool is designed to do is log metrics for the users in your system. The metrics are going to be stored at the user level as a custom data object. They will only be stored for 30 days at a time or monthly. If we go in here and we group by the event, we can see all the different events that are possible for you to log. So anytime an eFolder button is pressed, if a form is opened, it will tell you the duration they were on the form, and this will be for input forms. When a loan is closed, it'll tell you the duration of the time they were in the loan. When a loan is committed, it will tell you only the fields that the user modified. So if you modify something, for instance, say like purchase price, and then 100 other fields are modified after that, it won't catch those, only the purchase price field. So this is very, very handy for seeing exactly what the users in your system are doing inside of loans. You could kind of think of that as like Audit on steroids. Loan open, again with loan open and loan closed combined, you'll get the duration of the time they've been in loans. Login will give you the login times. Milestone completed will tell you who completed what milestone or what times. MIP click will tell you when anybody clicks on the MIP button. Save time will be how long it takes for the user to save the loan. Screen usage would be any form that pops up. It will tell you how long that user was on that form. For instance, if somebody opens up the settings or is in some kind of one of the disclosure windows or editing a custom field, it'll tell you how long and what they were doing. And lastly is going to be if they open a tool. So just like forms, this would be for tools. If I pull the event back down, just like any of our other grids in our system, you can drag up and group and sort and do anything you want with these grids. At the very top here, you can filter by date, start and end date. So if we go all the way back here to October, we'll load in all of the data that we have in our system. You can then filter by branch or organization. And then even further, you can filter by persona. And again, just like all of our tools, if you want to print something out, you can print it out in any of these formats. One small thing I left out is after you're done impersonating and you want to return to yourself, you just hit this return to myself button. The pipeline will reload and you will be back to your access. Up next is our users tool, which you can find up here in the Shark menu. First and foremost, you're going to get all the users in your system. If you want to group by any of the columns, you can keep grouping. If you want to search, you can search. If you want to print your users or the results of a search, you can do that. Now for all the tools on the right here. So this first section, this is going to be for your admins to reset users. So you can either quickly unlock, lock, or reset the password for someone very quickly. You can set a password to never expire. If you want to edit someone, you can either double click a row or click on edit to edit their profile quickly without having to go all the way and dig in settings. If you want to edit their user groups, you can do that from here as well. One of the coolest features in here is going to be the impersonate feature. So we all face the issue where we get a support ticket and somebody's saying, hey, I can't see this loan in my pipeline view, or I'm in a loan and I don't have access to a field, or I can't complete a milestone. And so what you end up having to do is create a copycat user, trying to mimic their access. Then you have to log in and hopefully you set everything up correctly and you can try to nail down what's going on. Well, with the impersonation feature, you can forget doing all that. All you got to do is come in here, select the user that you want to impersonate, hit the impersonate feature, and what you'll notice will happen is our pipeline's going to refresh. And now we're going to be that user. So you'll get all their pipeline views, you can cycle through. If we open up a loan, and we were to come in here, and let's say we add a document, and we hit the received, you'll notice that the user that it's marking as is the accounting user. So not only that, while you're impersonating, even though you're logged in as a super admin, all of the business rules are going to fire now. So this saves you, again, so much time from having to create a new copycat user, log in another session. Again, hope you didn't make any mistakes. Just a real pain, and this saves you a lot of time. On top of the impersonation feature, we were requested in the idea portal to add a log. So anytime anybody does anything with the impersonation tool, that will show up here in the log. You'll notice that we just opened a loan. If we would have saved, it will tell you exactly what happens, just like in the user metrics, where we only log the dirty fields or the fields just the user touched. Last but not least is going to be the batch import update new users. So you can download our template and use that to upload all of your new or updated users and hit import, and that will update them all with the one click of a button. That's it for users. Up next is our batching tool. There's two ways to do it, but if I head on over here to our reports tab, you'll notice that we get our batching tool up here. If I open up the batch tool, you'll see that there is a button up here called Load Active Report. And if I click that right now, you'll see Issue Finding Selected Report because we don't have one selected. So if I go over here and I select this test report, and again I hit Load Active Report, what that's going to do is going to generate that report just like if you hit this button, and it's going to load it in so you can do a batch update with this data. Now if you're going this route, you can come in here and you can say, okay, all these loans, I know I need to change this to 360. So you can come in here and you can hit update column, and that will update every single loan. Or you can come in one by one and do it manually. If you want to add a field to your batch, you can come in here and you can add that field. If you want to remove a field, select a field and hit remove. Aside from loading based on active report, you can also do your standard and more traditional import batch. So this would be your Excel or CSV file, both options. All we ask is that you start your batch with either GUID or loan number. After you've run a batch, one of the really cool features we've added is called batch reverting. You can come in here, you can look at all the history of all the batches you've ever run, and you can say, whoops, I ran this one and I need to undo it. So you come up here, you hit stage batch revert, and what that will do is that will load up your batch with the data that was there before you did your batch. So this, if you hit run batch, this will revert that batch to like your loans were before you did it. Over here in the bottom right hand corner, you'll notice there's some more options. So if you want, you can open loans, and if you choose the open loans option, this is going to be if you want your business rules to fire. So by opening loans, your business rules and calculations will fire. Additionally, you can import liabilities automatically. You can check for any documents that need to be retrieved and downloaded. And then if you wanted to run home counseling, you could do that as well. That's going to be it for the batch tool. We've all been there, day in, day out. You're searching through your settings, and you have thousands of users and thousands of triggers and thousands of rules, and you're constantly having to search and sort and scroll to find the user so you can reset their password or whatever it is you need to do in your system. Well, not anymore. With the grid search tool, you get this awesome text box up here, very simple and clean. Once you start typing, it automatically starts filtering out your results in the grid, allowing you to quickly and easily find anything you're searching for. This works for anything in settings that has a grid. You can search through any of the columns listed. Once you have it, you can't live without it. Next up is search documents. So in here, I have created a new document, and as you can now see in the name drop down here, I don't have the ability to free type. This will make sure that the documents in your system are typed and named correctly. Additionally, you get a magnifying glass over here, which you can click and you can search through the documents. You also get the description as well as the source. Up next is our Add Document Bucket tool. First part of the tool is fairly simple. What you're going to do is you're going to set our custom field here to any title that you want. When you do that, that's going to create that eFolder document bucket for you, and you can use this to create document buckets from either business rules or custom info forms. Second part of the tool is a little bit more tricky. If we open up the configuration, we can get a little glance at what's going on here. So what this is this is a rule configuration, just like you normally see. These are going to be all of your different verifications, and how you set these up is you say, what you do is you select a field that is a property of whatever this verification is. We have defaults in here, so if you select, for instance, deposit, it's going to select default to one of these properties. Let's just say, for instance, on liability that this is the name field or name property. What that's going to do is every time you create a liability, it's going to create a document bucket that's prefixed with VOL dash, and then whatever's in this field. When you delete it, you can either push all the attachments into another bucket, or you can set whatever you want the prefix to be, and this will rename your document bucket. And let's see this in action. So if we go over here to our liabilities, and let's delete this one, and let's add a new one, and we're going to say test 2. So we just deleted test. We're going to do test 2. And you know what? Let's add another one. We'll say test 3. Now we're going to go into the eFolder. All right, so there we have our test 1 and test 2. Now if we go back over here and we were to delete number 2, now that's been archived. So this gives you a really cool way to automatically create document buckets for all the different verifications in a loan. Up next is our loan folder move tool. This tool is going to help you automatically move all your loans to the correct folders without your users having to intervene or have access to the loan folders, which is another extra little tidbit that makes this tool unique. So you don't have to worry and make sure that your users have access, like in some standard tools, to move loans around. So let's dig in and see what's going on here. As you can see, these are all going to be all the loans in our system. Over here on the right, you can mark each loan folder as active or not, whether you want to use your rule that you have set up. You can specify the order of execution. So if you want the pipeline to run first, you can set that as 0, and we can set training as 6 so that that will run after my pipeline. You can select a milestone if you want this rule to run at a milestone completion. If you open a loan in the background and you want to test your calculation, you can hit the test calculation, and that will tell you what would have happened with this condition you have specified here. Our conditions are going to be just like any other condition you would write in any other business rule. You're going to write them the same way here. You got all the same options. And if you open a loan in the background, you can hit simulate. And what that's going to do is that's going to run through all the rules, and it will stop if it finds a rule that the loan would be moved to, and it's going to show you. So first it tried my pipeline, that rule was inactive. Then it tried this, but it was inactive. So then it tried all these folders, and those were all false, but then it moved to pipeline. Cool. Up next is going to be our auto add docs to closing package, and you definitely don't want to miss out on this one. So what this does is when you go to order your disclosures, and we're going to run through the process here. When you go to order disclosures, when you get to the second to last screen where you can add additional documents, be it printing them or adding them from the eFolder, this will allow you to set up rules so that you can automatically print those documents or automatically add those documents from the eFolder based on conditions that you set. So right now, let's go ahead and hit order disclosures. All right, and right now, what it's doing is it's generating our additional documents. So there you go. So 2 additional documents were generated there. And if we close, actually before we close out, you'll notice that the add additional docs button is now disabled. So it automatically added documents for us from here, but it disabled this feature. So let's go and check out and see what that looks like in the configuration. So how this works is you set what the source is for your rule. So that would either be you're getting a document from the eFolder or you want to print a document right there on the spot. You select the document that you want to print or you want to grab. Select your package type. Type in your condition, just in the same way that you would in any business rule. And so what this will mean is if this is true, then add this document or print this document, otherwise don't. And then if any of your rules are true and fire and they have this disable button, that button will be disabled. So all it takes is one of your rules to fire with the disable checkbox, and that button will be disabled no matter what. What a cool tool. Up next is our grid color tool. This is a really awesome tool. What it allows you to do is it allows you to color loans in your pipeline to highlight them for different people for different reasons. And what makes our tool so unique and special is that our tool only utilizes the data that's available in the grid. So the one caveat that we have to our tool that makes it different than other tools out there in the market is that we require your pipeline views to contain all of the fields for whatever rule it is that you want to run. Let me show you what I mean. So right now I have some rules set up for field 4000 as well as field 1109. So if I go in here and I search for 1109 and I add that, what you're going to see is you're going to see that a bunch of rules ran, and now we have a bunch of things being highlighted. Now let's go in here, remove that, and let's add field 4000. Now you can see different rules have ran. And what I'm trying to show you is that we require the actual fields that are in your rules to run. So if the pipeline view doesn't contain all of the rules that you specify in the configuration, that rule is not going to run. So what do these rules that I keep referring to look like? Go into our plugin management and configuration. They're pretty simple. So the first thing here is going to be active. So when you're creating rules, you can mark them active or not. That way you can work on rules and turn them on when you're done. First thing is to give them a unique name so you can remember exactly what's going on as far as all your expressions are concerned. Select your color that you want to highlight. When we click in here to expressions, you're going to type in your field ID. Doing that is going to bring up all of the options associated with that field type. So if we were to type in, let's say, a date field, we're going to get all the date options. So we could say date is today. And that's going to highlight all the loans where 3142 is today. The last column here allows you to control all the rules by persona. So you don't have to worry about all these rules being active for everyone in your system. You can turn these on for just say one persona or many personas. You can do pretty much whatever you want. Last but not least, it's going to be these two buttons down here, up and down. All of these rules are going to execute from top to bottom order. If you want to change that, all you have to do is come down here, click on the up or the down, and that's going to change the order of these rules, allowing you to control how your rules execute. That's it for grid. Up next is going to be our eFolder grid color tool. This is going to be just like our pipeline grid color tool. The only difference is it's going to use all these properties from either the documents, conditions, or enhanced conditions. All of our tools that utilize conditions also have support for enhanced conditions, just like this tool. So if I come in here and I were to add documents, let's go ahead and just add in all the documents from a set. What you're going to notice is a bunch of color. So we have a few rules set up in here to color different documents just based on their name or type. And you can do the same thing for conditions. If we come in here and customize columns, you have access to all of these properties. So let's go in and check out what that configuration looks like. So in here, you can build rules just like you would in the grid color tool. You select whether your rule is active, you give it a unique name to remind yourself what you're doing with this rule, why you're marking it, and highlighting it. Next, you select the type of the rule it is. Again, we support enhanced conditions with this. Select a color that you want to color, and we automatically will change the font color to something that matches with whatever color you select. So if you select a dark color, we will select a light font color like white, and if you select a light color, we will make sure your font color is dark to match up with whatever color you select. Next is going to be your filters. These are going to work exactly like the grid color tool. Only difference here, instead of field IDs, you're going to just select a property. Those properties will give you different comparisons based on what the type is. So if you have a numeric, it's going to give you numeric options. If you have a date property, it will give you date options. And if you have a string property, it will give you string options. Value 2 is used when you have a between operation. And the last column here allows you to control the rules by persona individually. So you can set the personas for each individual rule. That way you don't have to worry about your rules running for every single persona. Last but not least, just like the grid color tool, these rules are executed from top to bottom. So if you want to change the execution order, all you have to do is come in here, hit the up or the down arrow, and that will change the execution order. That's it. Next up is our loan diagnostic tool. When you're in a loan, you can hit this button right up here at the top. That'll pull up on our loan diagnostic tool, which again has our grid, so you can group, you can search, and what it contains is it's going to contain all of the field changes as well as any of the things that you do in a loan. So if you go from form to form, or you open a window, run a service, it's going to just keep a history of what happened, any fields that were dependent that changed. So if you're testing triggers or things like that, you can use this to just get a good idea of what's all happening as you change stuff in the loan. Next up is the visualizer tool. This tool can be used in either the pipeline or the reports tab. You have a button up here at the top. You would select a report, hit the visualizer button, and what that's going to allow you to do is that's going to allow you to group your data any which way that you see fit, as well as perform mathematical operations if you have numeric fields. We go over here to the pipeline. You can see it works in just exactly the same way. This will pull in all of the loans, not just these 50, but all 1,038. You can always change the palette if the palette isn't of your liking. And that's the visualizer. Starting out, the new category for quality of life is going to be alpha alerts. This plugin is very simple. All you do is enable it for any of your personas or users that you want to alphabetize their alerts when a loan opens. That's it. Up next is going to be our auto sign out tool. So we know from time to time, we've all been there where you keep your Encompass sessions open for days at a time and they're kind of stale and they don't have all the fresh updates because they haven't gone through the login process. Well, that's where auto signing comes into play. This allows you to, by persona, set rules to kick your users out of all their sessions at a specified time. Not only can you just kick them out, but you can also say, I want to have them save the loan that they're in before I kick them out. That way, if they have progress in a loan, they don't just lose it. The good benefit of this feature is by restarting your users' Encompass environments daily, you'll make sure that they have all the fresh updates, not only for Encompass, but for any plugins and for your entire system. Up next is back and forward. Just like it sounds, when you're up here navigating through forms and tools, and you want to quickly go to a form you were just on, or go forward to a form that you were just on, you can use these two buttons to navigate back and forth easily. Up next is concurrent sessions. What this is going to do is this is going to give you control to restrict your users to how many Encompass sessions they can have open at one time. There's two ways to do it. First way is the easy way, where you can just say globally, I don't want anybody to have more than 2, 3, X number of sessions open. Or more granularly, you can set by persona, and you can go through and you can set individually which persona can have how many sessions. Up next is goodbye performance message. So typically we've all been in here in the pipeline, and when you go and select a new pipeline view, or you go and you select one of these loan folders up here, let's say all loan folders or one of the archives, you're going to get that nasty message that says, to ensure optimal pipeline performance, loan alert details not provided. So what this plugin does is it disables this. So it doesn't just close it, it actually disables it so that it doesn't even open. And this actually saves about 3 or 4 seconds, and it really makes the pipeline feel a lot more snappy. And that's going to wrap it up for our plugin overview. Don't forget to like and subscribe to catch all the next videos we pop out on our YouTube page. All the information you could want that we've gone over is going to be at www.SharkeyByte.com. And don't forget, our install video is going to be right there. Have a great day.